One. He took him.
Steel cage deception at the hands of Don Callis' longtime friend and wrestling megastar Kenny Omega. He trusted you, Don. Yes, Omega's longtime ally turned on him with a wedging screwdriver into the skull, allowing Jon Moxley and the BCC to pick up the win. Don Callis is far from the first instance where a manager and wrestling associate has betrayed their own client. It's been decades-long old tradition in pro wrestling for betrayal, and this specific type of one is well documented. Here are some examples of managers turning on their wrestling clients. It's best to start with the biggest liar in professional wrestling on the microphone, maybe one of the best talkers, but yes, he can talk you into doing something and eventually turn on you. Paul Heyman. Heyman might be considered the greatest modern-day manager in pro wrestling, but he has a track record of turning on his own clients at the peak of their popularity. In WWE alone, he's done it 3 times. Brock Lesnar should know better, but he found himself getting betrayed by the same man twice in 21 years. It first happened at Survivor Series 2002 when Heyman helped The Big Show defeat Lesnar for the WWE Championship. A little over 2 decades later, at the 2022 Royal Rumble, Heyman, who was kicked out of the bloodline, quote-unquote, fooled Brock Lesnar and helped Roman Reigns attack him, costing him the WWE Championship yet again. Yeah, sometimes being a Paul Heyman guy doesn't pay off. Just ask CM Punk. He was almost guaranteed a third Money in the Bank victory, only to have him shoved down and set up for return by Brock Lesnar. That's right, Paul Heyman turned on CM Punk for Brock Lesnar, who he would also turn on later. Yeah, are you confused? I am too. We wonder if Heyman could somehow do the same thing with the Tribal Chief? My Tribal Chief? Another famous Paul in WWE who has backstabbed his wrestlers multiple times is, Paul Bearer. Not only did he backstab multiple superstars, but he did so to both Brothers of Destruction. He was The Undertaker's main man for a very long time after Brother Love introduced him to the WWE Universe, and their partnership lasted until 1996 when the Phenom faced Mankind in a Boiler Room Brawl. The Boiler Room Brawl might just be one of the most underrated gimmick matches in the history of WWE, and it perfectly suited Mankind's demented character. The stipulation of the brawl was that the person to go to the ring and retrieve the urn from Paul Bearer would be the winner. Although The Undertaker expected to pick up the W, he found himself on the receiving end of a shot of the urn to the head, leading to Paul Bearer to dump him and recruit Mankind. Mrs. Foley's baby boy was Paul's new boy. The deception continued and went full circle at the Judgment Day In Your House pay-per-view event, and it happened in the most Attitude Era way possible. The Big Red Monster Kane faced his brother, The Undertaker, for the WWE Championship with Stone Cold Steve Austin as the special guest referee. Paul Bearer, who was the father and manager of Kane, came towards the end with a steel chair. While it looked like he was going to hit The Undertaker, he did so to his own fleshing, and although Steve Austin refused to make the count, there was no official winner. The Undertaker and Paul Bearer reconciled after 2 years the next night on Monday Night Raw. Oh, yeah, reunited, Undertaker! At Survivor Series 1988, WWE executed one of the greatest double turns of all time when Mr. Fuji double-crossed Demolition to help the Powers of Pain win the 10-team elimination match. It certainly kick-started a hot run for Axe and Smash, who would go on to hold the titles for another 8 months and face the Powers of Pain at WrestleMania 5. Only a few years later, in 1990, they lost a lot of steam and recruited Fuji once again, and Axe eventually left WWE and things sort of fizzled out after there. Yeah, Crush and Smash weren't the same Demolition, right? A current manager in WWE and a former superstar in his own right, MVP, has formed a strong alliance with the gigantic Omos, and it certainly hasn't fizzled out. The veteran MVP did an incredible job managing the Hurt Business faction. elevating 3 other stars, but mainly Bobby Lashley, and bringing him to the WWE Championship level. It could be argued that Lashley may not have had the hot streak he had in the Thunderdome era of WWE if MVP wasn't at his side. But at WrestleMania 38, it seemed like MVP did all he could for Bobby Lashley. And that's why just one night after Lashley became the first man to pin Omos, MVP turned on him to join the Nigerian Giant. Yeah, we're still confused by that too. MVP has since tried to make things up with Lashley, but has always been unsuccessful. The Almighty is all about himself, on the other hand, and began one of the hottest runs of his entire career. Macho Man Randy Savage also began an incredible run in 1991 after he was betrayed by his longtime manager at the time, the late great Sensational Sherry, but he had to retire first. Savage had been a villain in WWE. Savage had been out of favor with fans for over 2 years by that point, and was going by the name Macho King Randy Savage, and having disposed of the iconic Miss Elizabeth at his side, recruiting Scary Sherry to replace her. Queen Sherry was a legend in her own right, but she's not in her heart like Elizabeth was. In 91, Savage began a feud with the Ultimate Warrior after costing him the WWE Championship against Sergeant Slaughter at the Royal Rumble. It culminated in a retirement match at WrestleMania 7 in Los Angeles, where the Warrior defeated Savage in what is possibly the Warrior's best match, and it ended Savage's career at the time. After the match, an enraged Sensational Sherry began attacking Savage, but Miss Elizabeth, his former lover, ran down to the ring, jumped the barricade, and saved her man. It was an emotional reunion that legitimately had fans in attendance weeping in tears as Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth were reunited as the greatest power couple in pro wrestling history. In the final years of his career, Andre found himself tag teaming with Haku as a part of the Colossal Connection, with Heyman remaining as their manager. That was until WrestleMania 6, when in 1990 he and Haku lost the WWE Tag Team titles to Demolition. Although it was Haku who ate the pin, Heyman blamed Andre for the loss and berated him and even slapped him. This turned out to be the straw that broke the camel's back, and he struck back by roaring approval from the crowd in attendance, taking out Haku and cementing his big return as a hero in the eyes of WWE fans. Given that this was the last significant storyline to feature Andre the Giant on WWE television, it seems appropriate that it came full circle. He was once again in the hearts of fans across the world, and they got to say goodbye to the larger-than-life figure instead of booing him out of the arena.